I'm Andy.
I'm Todd.
Welcome to our sports channel,
Random Fandom.
a show for the fans.
By the fans.
Please like and subscribe.
Hurry up. So, back at about the end of 23, I had said to you that I think we should go do a year on the road seeing sports together. Things that I want to see, things that you want to see, before we can't see them for whatever reason. And one of the things that we both recognize is we both have the availability, because you are married but don't have kids, and I'm divorced and I have my daughter on a split. So I have windows of time to travel, to go see sports, and things that that are meaningful to us, that we wanted to catch. And so the trip began with a trip to Pittsburgh, where you were born, lived for the first
3 years.
And where I lived for first 14 years until I went off to boarding school, to go to a Penguin game, kind of as my chance to say goodbye, because the Penguins have had this trio of players for over 16, 17 years, longest running trio in sports, and they've won 3 Stanley Cups together, played in a fourth, have had a great run, and I don't live in Pittsburgh anymore, and I wanted my one last chance to go say goodbye. We decided we'll go to Pittsburgh to see the hockey game. But for you, just going to a game isn't enough, because that's not what you're all about.
Right.
You want other things, and I like those other things. I want to go see those with you. But those are the things that really matter to you.
Yeah.
And so I handed the keys back over to you to say, hey, let's put a whole day together of things for us to do in Pittsburgh, beyond just a game, as we start this journey. So we started out in the Strip District, which the day we were there, it was pretty quiet, because it was a weekday, but on a weekend, the Strip District is as packed as any part of Pittsburgh, with all these different food markets, and a lot of gear shops, a lot of local gear shops. So we started in the Strip, kind of just get a flavor to start walking around. And then we went to a retail store that you thought was pretty fascinating.
It was Steel City?
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool to go to Steel City because I thought, to understand Pittsburgh sports history. Actually, we first went to DeLuca's, the restaurant.
Yes.
In the Strip. Then we went to Steel City, and it was a vintage style Pittsburgh sports shop.
Minus licenses.
Minus the licenses.
And not trying to be imitation sports wearables, but almost trying to be bonobos style level quality.
Right.
But with sports theme and sport team colors.
Right. And so it was cool because they had slogans that were kind of related to Pittsburgh. And the way the apparel was Renegade and Raise the Jolly Roger and Blitzburg and stuff. But it was also cool because they had a lot of
history,
yeah. Pictures of old teams, the Pirates logo,
And I don't know if you got to go back there, but if you were in the dressing room, there's a secret door that opens into a private speakeasy with extra curated stuff.
Okay, so they had a lot of Pittsburgh stuff. So these were people who were really interested in Pittsburgh sports history, but it was done in a way that wasn't like man cave.
It was done in a way that was something you could wear to a nice dinner on a night, and still be representing that you matter about sports, but you're wearing something nice. You're not wearing a Steeler logoed golf shirt.
Right, it has some hometown pride, but it wasn't cheesy.
No, it was actually upscale.
Right.
So that was really cool.
And it was right downtown.
Yep,
and
a couple locations. That was their first one, I believe.
I wanted to pick that one, was the one I picked. There was one in Shadyside, but I didn't want that one. I wanted the one downtown, because I looked at the authenticity of what they had. It was kind of like a museum with clothing built into it. And kind of like that. And so that was really cool. And one of the things that became a theme was a player who was a Pittsburgh legend that you wouldn't even think about being one of the Pittsburgh legends.
Right.
Josh Gibson.
Josh Gibson.
I saw 2 pictures of Josh Gibson right off the bat. One was a mural, and one, not a mural, one was a picture, and then the other one was a painting outside. And it was like, resonated with me. And then from there, we went, and so I kept that in my mind, and then we went to the Roberto Clemente Museum.
Yep, which you had arranged for us to have sort of a private tour.
Yeah.
Which became a self-guided tour.
It was a self-guided tour. They said, have at it.
Yep.
And nobody, and we just went around and looked at it.
And the Clemente Museum is really one collector's photographer, right? His collection.
Is that what it was?
It's one guy. It's the guy who that's all his stuff. He's the guy, the mastermind behind it. He's the curator. We didn't meet him, but it's his place.
Okay.
And it's all his stuff, and he's the one that built the relationship with their family to be able to get all the artifacts from Clemente's wife. That's how he got all that stuff.
And it's fabulous.
Fabulous. Done in such a way to tell story without needing, like in a museum, you have those push button here and we'll narrate.
Right.
There was maybe one of those I saw there. It was the way that everything was set and curated could take you right back to that period and tell you the story.
Right, and it felt like you knew Roberto Clemente by the time you were done.
I saw Clemente as a human being, whereas for me, he was almost more a statue of a person that I would never see as a living being. I just would see one photo of that catch in right field in the throw to third base.
Right.
You got to see Roberto Clemente like on the trainer's table. You got to see
what he wore.
Right, you got to see him like
his suit,
hanging out at a pool with his wife.
Yeah, or pictures with like Doc Ellis, like Polaroids with Doc Ellis, which was cool. And you know what? You know what was really interesting? The mural outside of the building, it's kind of like the standard mural.
Right.
But then you walk in and it really lets you into the identity of Roberto Clemente.
Yes.
So that's a must. That's a must.
Yeah, that was fun.
Okay.
I was really glad to see that because I got to, as a person from Pittsburgh, baseball is probably the sport that we tune out the most.
Yeah.
Because we have bad ownership and bad history. So for the recent. So to be able to go to Pittsburgh again and not be stuck in Steeler land the whole time. And we were there, by the way, 2 days after their season ended.
Right.
So the stage was cleared. There was a little hungover anger, but it was nice that we weren't stuck in Steeler lane. We were doing the Penguin game.
Right.
And we never in our minds thought we would be doing baseball other than the Clemente Museum, but it turned out we really got to see a lot of Pittsburgh baseball.
Yeah, and so that brings us to one of the things that I became familiar with kind of through, we both kind of visited the Negro League Museum in Kansas City and the Homestead Grays. And it's so interesting, Pittsburgh had 2 Negro League baseball teams. And Josh Gibson, who played for the Homestead Grays, was one of the greatest players in the history of the game.
Yep, the home run king.
The home run king. And yet, he's not always kind of in the focal point of Pittsburgh sports legends.
No.
And there was a neighborhood, there's Homestead, where the Grays would play, and there was a bridge. And I went over that bridge a million times.
Right.
We go over the bridge, there's a Homestead Gray bridge. And I wanted to find Homestead Grays gear. I couldn't really find anything. We saw the Josh Gibson.
But to be fair, I don't think other than the plaque at the end of the bridge, was there anything else Homestead Grays even in Homestead?
Yeah, no, there was the flags all along the bridge.
Right, but I mean, once you crossed the bridge, and there was that one mural.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, there was nothing acknowledging the Grays.
Right.
It was just right at the end of the bridge.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like Homestead was bringing the Grays back the way that area in Kansas City brought the Monarchs back.
Great point.
Yeah.
But what they did have was a beautiful mural right on the street of Josh Gibson.
Yes.
So now this is the 3rd image of Josh Gibson.
Right.
That was kind of like a guy who we didn't really talk that much about being in Pittsburgh.
That's right.
And then from there,
we went back to where we started, which was back to the Strip District, and we knew that there were these gear shops there. And, you know, we had gone into a corporate gear shop when we were in the Homestead area, and just didn't have the vibe that you like when you want to buy gear, because you want a little more story, you want a little more connection. The thing I remember, we walked in and we said hello, and we just didn't hear hello back.
Yeah.
And so we left, and we knew we were going back to the Strip, and then we walked around, we figured out which store, because we kind of mapped them out earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And we went into a store called Yinzer's.
Yinzer's in the Berg.
Yinzer's in the Berg, and they have several locations, but it's all brothers.
Yeah.
The locations are all on the Strip, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
my brother's down there.
Yeah,
You know.
down there. I've been in that store before, but the contrast from where we were at the corporate store to that, it made me realize this place is great. And the authenticity of the signatures all along on the walls.
And they had a separate area where it was all celebrity signatures, where you couldn't sign in there, but you could sign any wall anywhere you want.
Yeah, and it was people from all over the world coming in there.
Yep.
And signing, and so it was really had a very Pittsburgh-y feel, and they were super nice and
And they sounded Pittsburgh.
And they sounded Pittsburgh.
They looked Pittsburgh. They sounded Pittsburgh.
And my brother over there, down there.
Yep, it had the right vibe.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching Random Fandom.
I'm Andy.
I'm Todd.
Please like and subscribe.
Woo!